think about finally having everything you always wanted.
I can save today, but you can save the world.
Steve.
Diane. Now,
I take what I want in return.
everyone will see. The world needs you.
You know what you need to do.
Hello, and welcome back to the Critic's Critic, a series where we judge a film by other people's reviews of it. And today we're doing a film that actually only just came out, so I'm actually on time with one of these, so perhaps the YouTube algorithm will actually pick it up. I doubt it, but hey, it's always a possibility. Anyway, Wonder Woman 1984, released last month. I extremely enjoyed it. I thought it was really good and extremely topical for today's day and age. But other people, I don't agree. I've heard so many things saying that it's bad. The score has apparently gone down like 50% on like Rotten Tomatoes since its release. I don't know why, so I will have a look at some reviews, and then we'll critique those and see if they're actually presenting concrete facts or if they're just talking out of their butt. Apologies if I'm a bit blurry, but the lighting in here is terrible. Anyway, our written review for today has to be one of the worst things I've ever read, and it made me want to throw up. So let's have a look at Emma Burke's Guardian review, which, out of all the places to get a review of a movie from, The Guardian is probably the last place I would go to, because they can't even tell me news correctly. Anyway, it's entitled Wonder Woman 1984 is a smug, dishonest letdown. February 2020. It starts 3 years after a truly inspiring superhero film, Patty Jenkinson's sequel uses faux feminism to push a reactionary agenda. Right off the bat, we know where this is going, and this is very tentative territory, but I will talk more on that because I know where they're going. I remember very clearly 3 years ago going to the cinema to see Wonder Woman. It was an afternoon showing, and the entire experience, slinking off work while the kids were at school, paying extra for the posh seat, walking out on the street 2 hours later, confident that if push came to shove, I could probably bend metal. Reminded me how transporting big movies can be. Superhero franchises are, for the most part, made by men for men, but this film, directed by Patty Jenkins, felt like a rare exception. It was almost pitiful how gratifying, moving in fact it was to see a woman at the center of a $150 million movie. And yes, I would agree, it's taken, honestly too long to get a female-led superhero film. It should have happened long before Wonder Woman, but there is a huge explanation for why that is. It's a stupid explanation, but basically blame on the toy industry. I won't explain that in here because it'll take too long. But just Google up, just Have a look, you'll find it. And the entire thing about superhero franchises being made by and for men is just wrong. Look at how many teenage girls were interested in the Avengers. How many of them swooned over Loki. Is that making a film solely for men? I think it continues. Sentimentally, for a commercial beast of that size, was probably always misguided. Like celebrating the empowerment of women pole dancing in clubs run by men. If one woman didn't feel cynical, it was still formulaic and subject to the usual requirements. It is hard to imagine Batman fighting crime in a suit that ended at the bum line. How many times do I have to say this? Batman wears full body heavy armor because he isn't bulletproof. And yet it seemed to me you could tell there was a woman in charge. If the fight scenes at the top of the film had a slightly porny aesthetic, the intended audience was other women. For once, it wasn't about the men. What? I have no words. Please describe what a porny aesthetic is. If you think... the problem here is that you just don't like superhero films. Because even here, when there was a thing that you liked, you still found it stupid. So, why did anyone get you to write a review on a superhero film? But yeah, the film wasn't about the men, right? Yeah, like there's only like three female characters in the first film who aren't part of the island at the start, and like there's the whole Steve Trevor thing. Like probably the entire film is about a love interest. Like I think that's pretty sexist if you ask me, but then again, what do I know? It's a big dumb film, but not an art house adaptation of essays by Mary Wollstonecraft. Well, yeah, it's a superhero film. What were you expecting? Still, the fact it's so bad isn't only disappointing, but also enraging. It's not merely the script is terrible, and that in fact half of the movie, after an encouraging opening scene, hours seem to go by in which nothing happens. I'll just correct that a few. Hours seem to go by in which you weren't paying attention. It's not that for long stretches Godot has nothing to do but look passively into space, pining for her dead boyfriend. It isn't even that the film commits the ultimate sin of engaging Robin Wright, jamming her into gladiator gear, then dispensing with her services in the first 5 minutes of the film. It's that all of these are presented with a smug, a dishonest air of a film that purports to be critiquing the very thing it is selling us. I'll just pause there to just address this. First of all, Godot has heaps to do in this film. Again, you aren't paying attention if you think that she doesn't have anything to do. Just the thing with the film is that it focuses more on just her. It focuses on the two villains equally as well, so that you understand their motivations. And Robin Wright only being in the first 5 minutes of the film. Because if Themyscira doesn't really feature in the film that much. Wonder Woman doesn't go back there. So yeah, this character isn't in the movie. Is that really a bad thing? And you critique her just pining for her, for Chris Pine over the film. But yet, that was the entire plot of the first film. There was even less plot in there than in this, than in here. So, but were you complaining about the love plot in the first film? No, I don't think you were. Initially, towards the end, Wonder Woman 84 delivers on an anti-capitalist message, as if trying to launder a largely conservative film through a quick liberal spin cycle. Ah yes, there we go. The actual reason people don't like the film. Because it presents your views as being wrong. Remember how I did how I was earlier saying that I thought the film was pretty topical? Yeah, because I knew it would piss off heaps of people. Because basically the message of the film is you can't always get what you want. The review goes on to say that it's a bad thing for Diana to wish to get her boyfriend back because she doesn't want all these other things, and that quote here is a woman who can stop bullets with her wrist plates, but oh hi, let's give the guy with no powers are not only 2/3 of the movie, but most of the fight scenes in the job of actually saving the superhero. Quote. Did you actually do the maths there to find out if he has 2 entire thirds of the movie? Because I know that that's wrong. He isn't even in the film until half an hour in, and then isn't in the last half hour. So that isn't really 2/3 of a 2.5 hour movie, is it? And most of the fight scenes? What film were you watching? Name one scene where he fights someone. There's like perhaps the car chase, like in Cairo, but they're like he's the one driving the car. And actually Diana is the one who's doing the fighting. Most of the fights... Yeah. At this point in the review was kind of where I gave up trying to take them as seriously. But they do try to make one extra point about Kristen Wiig's character, Machita, where they say that like the character's a dowdy nerd that men ignore, and that the movie punishes her relentlessly for wanting to have a wish to be like the main character, to be attracting to men, which, and because they say apparently male attention is the only metric that actually matters. No, that's you not having a firm grasp on the themes. Chicha's character arc wasn't just to be appealing to men. She wanted to be strong and powerful like the main character. But I think the real reason you hate the character is almost because the film has a scene where she picks up a cat caller, and the film presents it as a bad thing.
Well, now it's my turn. Get used to it.
I've never been one for rules. The answer is always more. The way I fly, they will never find us.
I forgot to tell you.
What?
Radar.
Will they shoot at us?
Barbara, what did you do?
Our video review today is from a YouTuber called I call him Captain Midnight, who is a person I often disagree with in terms of his film reviews, but he does actually back them up, unlike our previous review. So we'll hear what he has to say.
For me, Wonder Woman 1984 is a bundle of interesting concepts and ideas completely and totally kneecapped by its own script. I like so much of what it's trying to do, but its execution falls short nearly every time, leaving us with a movie that not only doesn't measure up to the first Wonder Woman, it also doesn't manage to rise to the level of other recent DC films like Birds of Prey and Shazam.
He thinks Birds of Prey is like the pinnacle of the DC films. This isn't promising, guys.
Because something like the early Raimi Spider-Mans may have a lot of campy humor and cartoonish fun action, but it also put the work in exactly where this movie doesn't. Characterization.
This film puts more work into characterization than anything else. Have you seen how many action scenes are in this film compared to how many character scenes are in this film?
Where the early Spider-Man films tried really hard to give us a Peter Parker, Aunt May, and villains that felt really three-dimensional and grounded in some kind of emotional reality, the new characters in this film just don't feel that way. They feel like the broadest of sketches. I would say cartoonish, but the truth is that would be an insult to most of the villains in shows like Batman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited, or Young Justice.
No, they don't, like... I know what you're trying to say, but I believe that the villains in this film were extremely good. They had the depth. Because they had like heaps of film time to show them their backstory, especially Pedro Pascal's character.
But I might even be able to overlook that if there was a compelling story about Wonder Woman herself told here. And there's just not. But there almost was, and that's what makes this film so incredibly frustrating.
There is this whole film is about Wonder Woman having to humble herself, because in the first film that theme wasn't even there. She was correct about everything, even about World War I being engineered by a god, and that killing him stopped the war. She wasn't like brought down in that film at all. Here, she thinks she's she starts off the film thinking that she's great. Wishes to get her boyfriend back. Has him back. And believes that she knows how to use the wishing stone. But she starts to lose her powers, which means she has to rely on other people for help. She has to recognize that she made a mistake, renounce the wish, and then in turn get her powers back. She's brought down in this film for a character purpose. Is that not a compelling story about the main character? If it isn't, what is?
The plot of the movie centers around a wishing stone that grants people whatever they desire. Is this concept a little tired and done to death? Absolutely. But I do think it still could have worked really well. I like the idea that Diana and Steve have to sacrifice his resurrection by basically giving back her wish. I think that's a tragic and potentially really moving idea. It's asking a person who has apparently lived a pretty isolated life for like 70 years to give up the thing she always wanted, to let go of him because so many others will suffer if she doesn't. To me, that's classic superhero storytelling.
There we go. See, there's there you see the compelling story in the film. Problem is, you don't find it compelling. I do. So what that is your opinion. You can't say the film actually has actually doesn't have a compelling story, because that sort of thing is entirely opinion based.
These massive, larger-than-life problems that at their core boil down to relatable, very human feelings like loneliness and loss. The hacky plot device of the Wishing Stone could have been worth it just for that.
And that's the whole thing. That's where all the characters come from. From a relatable point that humans can understand. Like you are apparently saying the characters are flat and one note, but they're not. You can understand how each antagonist comes to be an antagonist, but they aren't particularly just evil. They just want a particular thing.
And the weird way they bring back Steve Trevor is a large part of why. Look, I almost feel like I'm beating a dead horse with this complaint. Everyone has already talked about how weird and off-putting this possession concept was, but I think it's central to why the Diana Steve stuff doesn't work.
Okay, yeah, the whole possession subplot that people complain about how Chris Pine's character was brought back in the body of this other dude, and they don't talk about it, the entire thing. I would say, yeah, it could be a problem, but B, is it particularly important? And C, I would actually talking about it improve the quality of the film that much. No, because it isn't really. It's slightly connected to the themes in a small way, because yeah, the wish is ruining someone else's life, but adding in that as well would just be superfluous, because we already know the Wishing Stone has downsides to it.
I actually think Wig is solid enough in the movie, but it's a role that feels like it's leading to a boring inevitability the second she walks into her first scene.
I would actually agree that Kristen Wiig's performance here is actually pretty good, and that shocks me to say. But what you think is just the character being predictable is that's the point. You can see throughout the entire film the exact path the character is going to go down, so you want them to not go down that path. You can see that she steadily becomes more evil, and her actions become more questionable. You see the downward spiral happening happening before your eyes. You know what's going to happen. That's the whole tragicness of it.
Maybe not the worst thing in the film, but there's just not much here. It's not helped by the fact that the character begins the film with about as much depth as a Kathy cartoon. And her transformation into a member of the cast of Cats at the end just doesn't work for me at all. In the beginning of the film, she wants to be respected, well-liked, and more confident. Then, in the third act, she happily chucks that out the window on a wish to be an apex predator, which turns her into a human cat. I feel like that entirely negates what she originally wanted, because it just kind of turns her into a monster.
I can explain this. It took me a while to understand it. I had to understand it myself, but here is what's probably happening. At the start of the film, the character's wish was to actually become like powerful and like the main character, attractive and beautiful, things like that. But then towards the end of the film, she sees how much powerful is she sees how much more powerful she is, and how much she can get with that power. She sees that the power is more important to her than everything else. So that's why she chooses to become more cheetah-like, because she just wants the power. That's the point. Everyone with the wishing stone, the two antagonists, just crave the power over everything. And it's also I like the comics angle. People would have complained if the character called him Cheetah didn't turn into Cheetah. I like Iron Man 3, because we all know how Iron Man 3's the Mandarin worked out.
The idea of a villain who grants everyone their ultimate wish in a way that plunges the world into chaos is a fun one. And his obsession with always taking more is a good concept for a fossil fuel-based villain, who longs for unlimited consumption without ever acknowledging the results of that consumption. The sun thing, though, it's just lazy. It feels like a trope taken straight from a 90s kids movie like Jingle All the Way or The Santa Claus. The villain just needs to realize that his son matters more than the excess he craves.
Yeah, because who actually cares about actual family values, am I right? It isn't a stupid plot point. It works, because that's like a good theme. You apparently do not think so, but yeah, trying to not be like a god, and instead I'm caring about the family that you do have. That's an important message that apparently people don't like to hear anymore. But yeah, the rest of that movie was long. I talked about the things that I was wanting to in it. I promised to not have this be half an hour long. So the full review is in the description below. Anyway, on to fan reviews. But I thought people would understand what the film is trying to say. Like, yeah, perhaps stockpiling heaps of stockpiling nuclear bombs is a bad thing. But what do I know? In terms of the other points of the film, the soundtrack is absolutely a banger. Cinematography is great. Effects people, I will say, like campy, but when don't they? I've heard a few people criticize like some of the plot points of the film. I like the main character being able to make things vanish, to just explain at the end. Visible jet. That was hilarious in the film. I would have other there are heaps of other things to say about the film, but that isn't the point of them of here. This is to last time is to critique other people's critiques of the film, and I believe I have been able to do that. So that's pretty much it. There is more I could say, but this is about other people's reviews of films, not mine, because I don't because this is already a long video as it is. But as always, I do not mean I do not mean any disrespect on the reviewers that are critiquing here. I will put their reviews in the description, so you can go and view them yourself and then tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, I could be. But anyway, that's all for today, and I will see you in the next video.